invocation.
Vasudevendra Yogindram Nattva Jnanapradam Gurum Mumukshunam Hitarthaya Tattva Bodho Vidhiyate Nityam Shuddham Nirabhasam Niravaram Niranjanam Nityabodham Chidanandam Gurum Brahmam Namamyam.
Now beginning to see the Tamasa Amsha. I'll be from Maya's tamasic guna comes the physical evolution, the physical elements that we are now contacting. So this process of physicalization of the subtle matter is called Panchikaranam. It is the model which shows how the matter is divided and grossifies enough for it to create a tangible experience. I've seen how from Maya aspect, the consisting of Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, as the Gyanindriyas, Antakaranam, Karmendriya and Pranas. So from Sattva has come Gyanindriya and Antakaranam. Gyanindriya being Chakshu, Shrotram, Grana, Rasana, Tvacha. These are the Indriyas and all of them having their respective activities. So Brahman and its Maya aspect, component, which is what we have called Shakti, the Jnana Shakti, Kriya Shakti, and the very existence itself. All of them being aspect of Maya, just when the Srishti is beginning to evolute. All this entire world, universe, Srishti is actually in its it's in its potential state, which is unmanifest in the beginning. When is that called beginning? Don't worry. When is that beginning? It is endless. It is beginningless. This process is what is described to help us quieten the curiosity, which becomes an obstacle for further knowledge. Because this question, when did the world begin, is a chicken and an egg kind of a question. It has a logical fallacy, because if you have to ask when did the world begin, that when component is a part of the world. Time has come with creation. So you cannot ask the origin of creation remaining in time. You have to transcend time. And the only place where we transcend time actually is the sleep state. There is no time experience in our sleep. Now, when you see in the evolutionary process, how the evolution has come about in this model, the Maya is non-separate from its three constituents, which it makes Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. And this is based on the qualities that we identify in the world. As I said, if we were to, supposing we were to go out on a educational tour, and every object that we see, we were to suppose to analyze with a total analytical approach, what is it made up of? Other than the everything you would come up will be physical, its shape, its size, its color, etc. And if whoever knows Vedanta will keep asking, what else is there? What else is there? What else is there? Because everything that you will speak of will be in terms of physical qualities first. And then if there is somebody moving around, you will start saying, okay, there is movement here, there is no movement here, And then if you see something around which is absolutely brilliant, it's it's equipoised, it is clear. Automatically, there is a different perception of that existence. You will frame entire existence into these three kinds of fundamental qualities: sattva, rajas, and tamas. So the Srishti says, from the sattvic component of Maya, first of all, Brahman and Maya is Ishvara. This Ishvara itself was spoken of as all the devatas, different devatas for each one of them. From Maya, the sattvic component are the 5 elements: space, air, fire, water, earth. These 5 elements are the subtle elements which have first come from the sattvic component. They together, each of their sattvic component is producing one antakaranam, pancha jnanendriya. Is creating one jnanendriya. And together, all of them, all the sattvic components together is creating the antakaranam. And antakaranam was mano, buddhi, chit, ahankar. What is called mind? He said, in this definition over here, he said, sankalpa vikalpatmaka manaha. Mind is that which goes into sankalpa and vikalpa. To do, not to do. To be, not to be. Now, later. That self-doubt, that self-confusion, that uncertainty, indecisiveness, all these aspects is sankalpa, vikalpa. Like a pendulum, the mind goes. Sometimes this side, sometimes that side. It's not firm. It's not stable. It moves from one extreme to another extreme like a pendulum. That's called sankalpa, vikalpa. Buddhi is nishchayatmika buddhi. When it is certain, now resolved, decisive, firm. That aspect of antakaranam which makes a resolution and sticks to it, that aspect is called buddhi. See, what we have to understand is, it is not that there is a buddhi which does resolution, which is decisive. It is the decisive quality which makes it buddhi. Do you see the difference? It is not that there is something called a buddhi which, which will say, acha, now that I have, therefore I can decide. No. When you decide is what is called buddhi. That is the beauty of the antakaranam. That is the liquidity of the antakaranam. That it is not compartmentalized. That's why each person becomes different, because what you operate upon begins to define you. So what is manaha? When predominantly you remain inconclusive, indecisive, and then all this creates further emotions, then this is a strong mind-based personality, manaha-based personality, which remains fluctuating most of the time, is not decisive. When this person makes it a decisiveness in life and predominantly becomes oriented to taking firm steps, resolution is a part of the personality, that means now buddhi is being asserted. The faculty of buddhi is now, assertion has come. Then there was ahankarta, ahamkar. This everything, I think we all understand ahankar the best. The constant notion, I am the doer, I only do, I am the sufferer, mere saath hi kyun, mera, all blah blah blah. All that centered on me. My entire thought process is centered on me. Main. That is called ahankar. Chintana kartri chittam. And here chintana doesn't mean worry or reflection. It means even to do a thinking. There is some sort of a past experience which we bring ourselves into recollection. So that memory bank which we tap into when we have to think, that is Chittam. So Panch Gyan Indriya, each of the element with its sattvic component is one Indriya. All together is Antakaranam. Then what happens with the Rajasic component? A little up. So the Rajasic component of Maya, again the 5 elements, Rajasic component of each of them produces one Karmendriya. Together all of them is producing Pancha Prana. Up to this we saw yesterday, each of them. Now we come to this part. This was the diagram I haven't finished, so I'm taking this help. Up again. Tamas part. So from Maya, the tamas part is now where the Panchikaranam is happening, to the 5 elements, to the 5 subtle elements. And what is happening? Space, entire space. Space undergoes a division. Each element undergoes division. Of this division, one ardham, I'll take all words, each one of them separately so that the verse becomes clear. One ardham, half of it, remains intact. The other half divides further into 4. So each becomes 1/8. Air, same way. Each element undergoes division. How? Like we said yesterday, just imagine an amoeba just splitting into 2. A unicellular microorganism, and suddenly, I've forgotten the term that it's called, when they become 2. The pure element which is not contactable, not seen, not heard, not felt, nothing. When the evolution is beginning, it undergoes transformation. That transformation means now it begins to change, and that change means it bifurcates. It separates equally into 2 halves first, and 1 half remains intact. So it's like this is intact, and the other half has split into 4. So this becomes, the entire thing is now space, but this is 4 parts, and this is half part together. Same thing with air, fire, water, earth. Then the next process of Panchikaranam is that each of these 1/4 part goes and joins with the other 4. So 1/4, say this is of space. This space lends itself, the other 3 goes and joins with the other 3, air, fire, water, and the 4th one with earth. So each one of them lends 1/8 of its part to make this whole again. Clear? So what has happened to space now? Now space has half of its own part, 1/4 part of air, 1/4 part of water, 1/4 part of fire, and 1/4 part of earth, and together, whichever is predominant, that's the element it remains. Because it rules. Uska power zyada hai to it rules. So space, half space means now that element is called space. Half air means that element is now called air. But half air, the other half part is made up of 1/8 space, 1/8 fire, 1/8 water, and 1/8 earth. Similarly, the rest of them. This now combination, it's almost like atoms becoming molecules. This combination now of 1/2 plus 1/8 each, making 1 whole element, that is now grossified. It's now gross space, gross air, gross fire, gross water, and gross earth. And what do we mean by gross? Now it has become physical. It can be contacted. One can now contact these elements. That means now I'll go back to my diagram. So now with the Indriya and the Antakaranam formed, that was the Sukshma Prapancha. Prapancha, incidentally. Pancha is 5. Pra is defining that 5, means it's along with the 5. So we have everything in terms of 5 elements, 5 senses of perception, 5 senses of organs, 5 pranas, pancha, 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 pancha. So it's almost all of the evolution is in the form of sets of 5. So it's prapancha. Sukshma prapancha is what has now become ears, indriya, sense of. That's important. Even before you go and pick up something, there is in yourself at a subtle level, at a thought level, there is this idea of wanting it. That reaching out is the subtle idea. Now, all of the Sukshma Prapancha has itself become instruments which are guiding the Ichha, guiding the thought inside. With the help of now you have the entire gross world. So when the gross elements have come, these gross elements is what constitutes the gross body. So all our organs that we see in the body as eyes and ears, they are part of the gross elemental world. And that is why on death every element goes back to its subtle element. So your last rites are also, according to each culture, why in Hinduism, in the last rites, the body is burnt? Any idea? Anybody's heard? Now with this understanding at the background.
Go back into earth, like go back to earth.
Only?
Fire also?
Fire also. And? Is your gross body constituted of space? Does it occupy space?
1
Yes.
second.
It takes away the space when it's burnt.
Correct. Does it have air?
Yeah, the pranas have gone, the air element has gone back to the air.
Exactly.
And so air is gone, space is gone, fire has gone to fire, earth wo jo uska raakh bach jata hai wo is part of the earth now. And water, they say कि कुछ time बाद body में से वो water निकलना शुरू हो जाता है तो water element भी निकल जाता है. And if you actually go to the Shmashan Ghat, there it's written फिर मिट्टी की अब मिट्टी से आए थे और मिट्टी में वापस चले गए.
Correct. Now, see, these are customs that have come out from this this knowledge which is actually a reality. Your body is made up of 5 elements, and that is it. This gross body is only 5 elements. How have they come about? Panchikaranam. So today you don't find pure space in the body without the other elements combined. So when you're alive, you have a space you're occupying. Within the body, there is space, there is heart space, there is lung space, there is chest space, there is blood vessel space, there is space everywhere. There is air inside, you have Vayu, not only just pranas, all the Vayu. There is water, 90%, 99%, the whole body is water. If you start drinking less water, everything starts to getting affected. Earth, of course, all this is there. Now, each tradition, why in our culture we burn the body? Can you make out? Can anybody figure it out here?
To go back to those elements only which we are made of.
Absolutely. So, what does fire do? Because you can also, at the level of the earth, when the body is, what is it called?
Decomposed?
When they in the grave, when they put the body in the grave, that's one of the ways to end
The
the
burial.
last ones. Burial, correct. Burial. Predominantly, what have they done? Put it in earth.
So fire component doesn't go back to fire, and of course, the
Over a
space
period of time.
not
It
there.
will go over a period of time. It will go. What happens with fire? Fire is the very first element which is now seen. It is that connecting element between space and air and water and earth. Space you can't see, air you can't see, you can feel but you can't see. Remember when we did one of those charts? Each one of the element, when it's coming down, it is doing guna upachaya. One guna keeps getting added when it keeps coming down. So space you can only see, air you can see and feel, fire you can
See, feel, and touch.
see, feel, hear.
Here.
Space you can hear, air you can hear and
Feel.
fire you can hear.
Touch.
When you go for bonfire, you can hear the fire. Fire, and you can feel it. And of course,
You can see the form.
you can see the form. Absolutely. Water, now one more, amongst all the 3, one more gets added. You can taste it. And earth, amongst all the 4, one more has got added, which is now
Smell. Smell it.
yes. All of them you can see here. Ear, skin, eye, tongue and nose. And for all of them, they're connected to what? Antakaranam. Antakaranam is also from the Sukshma, Sattvic element. So all these Indriyas are operative through this Panchikarana Sanghata. Sanghata means bound together, joined together. So whatever the principle is, whatever has come together will also disintegrate, will have Viyoga. What comes Sanyoga will have Viyoga. What has Sanghata will definitely have separation. It cannot be held forever. Why is the body not eternal? Now you should answer this. Anyone can answer this. Why is the body not eternal? Because
It has an end.
that's what's called not eternal. It's another word. Because it's a sanghata. It's a combination of 5 elements. Whatever comes together cannot by law be held together for eternity. There is only one, we'll forget that. So Why will the body, now remember Atmanatma Viveka, we said body is constantly going through Shadvikar. What are the Shadvikars now based on? Elemental changes. So as we keep growing older, when the first time I heard, I wasn't aware, someone who was at that, I was in my 20s and someone was in their late 40s, arriving 50s. And they told me that as you grow older, the jawline expands and the teeth start having that space in between. I was a little surprised because I mean, you never thought that these are the changes that become visible to someone. How you're constantly, we know that the body is changing every time, every moment, but somehow it doesn't register to us. It has just been a kind of a accepted thing. Birth and death are just accepted. But here is a rule disclosed in the Shastra. It is not a random thing. It is whatever has come together by law of life, by law of nature. It cannot be held forever. So your gross body, made up of all the 5 elements as a sanghata, have a viyoga from each other. Now, that this body is kept alive is the pranas. And pranas, we said, belonging to the Sukshma Shariram, keeping the body alive through the breathing, through digestion, through circulation, through the Pancha Pranas, and then the Antakaranam deciding, etc. All of this is nothing but the entire creation in which now the book is going to move on and say the one, ahankar definition, we said ahankarta. He says the one who is going to sthula sharira abhimani. Whoever is the abhimani of this sthula sharir. And go backwards one sentence, I just finished. Sthula sharira, sthula elements. Sthula means gross. The sthula sharir is only sthula elements. This sthula element that you have owned up, abhimani, I am this. This is my body. And my body is also okay. There is certain objectivity to it. I am only this. And that is such a identification in us that however we know that there is death of the body, while we are alive, the objectivity is not there. That I am separate from this body is somehow doesn't click to us. We know it, heard it, especially in our culture, we hear it as we keep growing up also. It's common sense and common knowledge to us, even as we say, even those who are not very literate would know this, and they may probably know it better, that this body is not an everlasting body. And yet, the combination aham abhimani, sthula sharira abhimani. What does he called? Jiva namakam. He's got a name now. What is that? Jiva. Now, who is a jiva? There's a new word. Who is a jiva?
In the other definition, it said it's Vishwa. So Vishwa is the same as Jiva.
Vishwa was the waker. Only the waker.
In the definition of
Waking state.
waking state.
So only the waker was called Vishwa. Who's here? So Vishwa is a part of the Jiva. Jiva is the one who is completely in identification with the body,
In all
calling himself, I am this.
Hitesh, can you do the summarization again that you know, the association you made with the individual, I mean, the five gross elements with the body, the five. Could you just do that once? Sorry, confused.
Yeah. Um, you got the Panchikaranam process, no?
Yes, yes.
So because of the Panchikaranam, now five gross elements have come. And what do we mean by gross elements? These that we can now see and contact. And who contacts them? It is the Sukshma elements which have come as a part of Antakaranam and the Indriyas. They are the ones now who have got a corresponding world to contact. So Indriyas are subtle, but they also have the respective objects to contact. So this now becomes a part of, yes, so this now becomes a part of your life. You are that. So what is the body really made up of? Physical body is just the gross elements. Panchikarna bhutaha, panchabhutaha. In this panchabhutaha is expressing the sukshma sharira. Sukshma elements.
Yeah.
Now, this gross body by itself is not there. There is inhabitor of it. This inhabitor of it, who's inhabiting it, is the one who is calling this body as me. I am the body.
Yeah.
This I am the body, but on analysis, body is only elements. So if you go back to Brahman plus Maya, now Maya has got modified into all the elements, including your Antakaranam, then where is the idea that I am the body? That I am the body is a misplaced judgment because the association with the body is so firm and strong. Ahankarta ahankaraha is a part of Antakaranam. So whatever I am identified with, even though I know that the body is dying, even if I see people dying, and now in this recent time we have seen our close ones going away, we have the fear, we know there is something affects the body. What is affecting the body?
The elements around us.
Exactly. Whatever is made up of the gross will affect the gross. This will affect. So there will be, if this, it is not this, there will be something else that will affect the body. So fire will burn the body. Water will wet the body. Because they are of the same elements. But will fire wet I? Will fire burn I? Will water wet I? So I say I am burning, I am burned, I am wet, etc. But that experience, I am wet, I am burning, is actually what is the misplaced identity on something that is just a part of creation. It has come about sanghata of the elements. It is bound to have a viyoga. And so is true with all relations. Everything. The world is sanghata. There is nothing eternal here. There is nothing that can be eternal here. So a lot of people's expectations and grief actually disappears on this notion of knowledge. When you understand this, it is impossible to have eternity here. So a grossified realm of contact is given in the model of this life. It is available for the one who inhabits this, and then he calls it as himself. And the one who calls this as himself is the definition of Jeev. Jeev means जो जी रहा है, the one who's exhibiting pranas. So the rock and the mountains are not called jeev.
Yeah.
Every living being is a jeev, whether they're animals or birds or insects. Everything that exhibits the notion that I am this is a jeev. Yeah?
Understood. Yeah.
This was
Very
what you were asking, no?
Yeah, very clear.
Now this jeev has got defined for the first time, because this word comes very often in everything that we will talk. Definition has come only here. I have resisted using this word because it's almost impossible to not use the word when you're talking of Vedanta, because Jeev is something that gets addressed all the time. Who are you? What do you think of yourself today? Now you will see everything that will fall into place. You call yourself a name, you call yourself a form, you call yourself a gender, you call yourself qualities, you call yourself related to this and this, you call whatever you will call yourself, you will be able to place it somewhere in the Sanghata. That cannot be the source of the inhabitor. The Sanghata has brought about the I notion, or is the I the one who is owning up the Sanghata? There are two different approaches. Has this, I'm sure some of you are getting a little knocked out. Are you? What is this Sanghata really? Let's start from the gross body itself. What is a gross body? Forget the elements now. What is your body made up of? Eyes and hands and feet. This is also Sanghata. Now, supposing this was actually done as an experiment in one of the wars that happened, and a very painful thing, but it's an example that reminds us constantly. In one of the torture chambers, a prisoner of war was tortured, and so when I identify with my country, I will say my country. So the prisoner was from our country, and first they cut off his little finger, another finger, another finger, cut off all the fingers. Idea of I,
Still the same.
still the same. Cut off the wrists, exactly not in this order, but you can imagine. Cut off the arms. Legs are there, torso is there, head is there. Idea of I, not cut, is still there. Now what is he identifying with? When the arm is thrown out, is he saying, I am this arm? I am this finger? But when it is there with me now, it's joined at my shoulder, ball and socket joint, allowing me the whole movement. I can't see this as separate from me. But because it can be separated, it gets dislocated. It gets cut away. This didn't end here. They cut off the legs. So the person now, he is still a jiva. The jiva is still there without hands and feet. Only the torso and head. But the sense of I,
Still the same.
absolutely same. They can't cut that. They can't diminish it. And if he is a great patriot, means he's identified with his nation, they can't cut that away. The gross thing cannot cut that away. Slowly, they started, it was torture. They removed the eyes, cut the tongue. Now, what has happened to I?
Constant.
That one which is identified with whatever remains of the body as long as there is breath is Jiva. ये जो सांस ले रहा है ना अंदर बाहर हो रही है सांस going in and going out, and most of us realize this when if our close ones were now for whatever reason had difficulty breathing, you realize how precious that is. What is Jiva called? Jeev किसे कहते हैं? And that is why the whole Vedic system evolved around non-violence, ahimsa. Because what is ahimsa? What is hinsa? You are attacking jivatvam. Every living form has this identity with its own body. This jiva who's an identity with this body, the word has got introduced as jiva. He is going to now further say, is Brahma Pratibimbam. This jiva is a pratibimb, reflection. Absolute reflection of what? Brahman. I don't know where I have kept that diagram. What? So let's just keep it to this much. So what is this? We'll continue next class, of course. At this point, what was essential is to get this macrocosm origin. Atma kaha, he answered, stula sukshma karana prapancha vyatiriktaha, etc. That is Atma. This Atma that he said is here, the source of all this, he's introduced now. Why am I not in recognition that I am Atma? Because
I am in recognition that I am the body
exactly.
and a limited being.
And give it a name now.
Jiva.
Exactly. Absolutely. As long as I'm in identification with this body, I call myself a jiva. I was born. I will die.
Yeah.
Can anybody remove this notion from me? Impossible. Absolutely difficult. And that is why a rare one. Now we know why. Even though knowledge is so famous and popular and it's reachable to all of us now, but a rare one transcends this thought, breaks it, breaks the association. And that's people like Ramana and people. It's not an impossible thing. Ramakrishna said to be. These are the ones who actually, because it's all a fact. If I'm in identification with the body and I say I'm born and I die and I change and I am this and I am that and I'm that, I have only gone on constricting myself. Added limitation and limitation and limitation and limitation until the time that my mind has got so Antakaranam has got is hardly reflect. He says Jiva is a pratibimb of Brahman. Pratibimb means it's a reflection. That means it's absolute reflection. It's not a distortion. Where is this reflection? In Antakaranam. The place where I say I'm conscious and I'm aware. That awareness component, that's why in the beginning I said let's not use too much of this word awareness and consciousness because they themselves are limiting words to us. But the sthan, and this is where I think our next book that we are going to start with, Upadesha Sar, will help us understand. The sthan where I am identified with, only in Brahma Vichar we see that separation there. The sthan where it is, we are not in today we are in identification with the body. मैं ही तो ये हूँ ना. So I am angry, I am good, I am bad, I am this, I am that, I am this. I am this is so. What is that? Feviquick जुड़ा हुआ, Fevicol जुड़ा हुआ, whatever. It's nonsense. You can't break it today. I am good, I am bad, I am this and that. This. I am cannot be identified independent of some guna or the other that we have identified with. I usage, मैं का usage is not independent usage ever because मैं is Brahma Pratibhimbam. The I really is the reflection. Brahma Pratibhimb hai ye. But the minute this is got identified with the Sthula Sukshma Karana Sharir Adi, I am no longer in identification with the Brahma Pratibhimbam as if has been clouded. As if is the only correct word. It's not now. Now the upadhis of now the what I've identified with the qualities of that is what is now reflecting. Remember the crystal and the blue flower example. So what is really reflecting on the I now is the sharira qualities. What is my height? What is my weight? शरीर का जो height है, शरीर का weight है, शरीर का रंग है, शरीर का रूप है, शरीर के features हैं, शरीर की आँख है, शरीर का कान है, शरीर का नाक है, शरीर का रंग है, रस है, शरीर का ये सब शरीर का है. लेकिन अब ये इतना I के साथ I में reflection इस तरफ से चैतन्य की नहीं आ रही, I में reflection इस तरफ से उपाधि की आ रही है. So my experience is entirely of this side of the gross world because the senses are centered outside. They don't watch, they're not seeing the source from where they have come. They are a part of Maya. They've come from Maya. Yeah, you want to say something, Aditi?
Ma'am, first you said that I am, right? And now you're saying I am a reflection. So I'm confused.
Your
Like
voice,
Brahman.
your voice broke, the sentence.
I think what we had discussed, what was communicated initially and throughout has been I am, right? There is no reflection. And now suddenly we're talking about I am a reflection of. Why is...
I am is still not a reflection.
Okay.
I am is still not a reflection. But we are seeing it as a reflection. In my experience, what am I? In my experience now, today. Yeah, that's it. Because now what the text is going to further say is, it's going to come back to I am as Brahman. It's defined Jiva. Now it's going to define Brahman and it's going to show the non-distinctness of two. And then that experiential I in which the Pratibimba has actually been of Brahman, I have mistaken it with the body and the mind, and so I call myself a Jiva.
So Jiva is the reflection.
Jiva is actually a reflection. Jiva is actually, you can't even call it a reflection in that sense. It is a reflection, but it is a false notion is the closer idea. False notion of who I am. It's
Would it be mithya?
misplaced. It is.
Mithya, right?
Yeah. Jivatvam is mithya, no? It's temporary.
Deepti ji,
Correctable. That's why it's correctable.
The misplaced notion, right? So is it a kosha that you're talking about? Because you said any misplaced notion that we actually put in our, like whatever misplaced notions we have, it's all a kosha, right?
Correct. Yes. So there were different ways in which you pick it up,
Yeah.
different
Yes.
prakriyas. So
Yes.
kosha is one
Yes.
of the prakriyas showing the same misplacement at the location. Because the topic there was Atma, but now he's coming to actual. Remember, I said he's finished the individual microcosm. Now he's moved into macrocosm, and he's going to show the oneness of the two. तभी अद्वैत होएगा ना.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Jiva Brahma Aikyam, and that is what is Vedanta. Tattvam Asi. Tat, he's finished. You are Atma. He'll add not this Jiva. Brahman, the world has origin from Brahman. Maya is only its upadhi, like your body is your upadhi. Jiva upadhi is the sthula sharir, sukshma sharir. Ishvara upadhi, Maya. Along. And both of them, if you remove the upadhis, what happens? There's Aikyam. So slowly he'll move to that. And slowly, almost the next. So this, we'll repeat this part of it as the text comes. But this much Panchikaranam, up to Panchikaranam, the Srishti Utpatti. This is a Srishti Utpatti. How has the creation come? That is the topic here. So with this, let's end the class for now. Can you end it?
ॐ सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु काले वर्षतु पर्जन्यः पृथ्वी सस्यशालिनी देशोऽयं क्षोभरहितः ब्राह्मणाः सन्तु निर्भयाः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति
Everyone.
Deepti ji, I have another question. It's about the tamas, the panchikaranam that we talked about. I didn't understand the point, so I understood the division that you were talking about. That there are five components in each of the elements, and the dominant component is the element, right? So, for instance, air will be half of it, and the other four elements will be the remaining four elements. But what is the point? I don't get that.
The point is, what you're contacting now
Yeah.
are the grossified elements. The contact is only possible because, see, the Antakaranam is what is receiving all of them. The receiver of Antakaranam, of all these five, is the Antakaranam. And Antakaranam must have the composition. If eyes can see was a separate thing, and ears can hear was a separate thing, eye is seeing, ear is hearing, where is all getting registered as one perception, is only possible because Panchikaranam has happened.
Okay. So you're saying for us to experience it, they
For
have
us
to
to
be.
for us to experience it. The
We can also
experience is
say,
born because of it. Sorry?
yeah, I was going to say, if we can say it the other way, that if Panchikaranam did not happen, then we would not be able to contact.
Exactly. Put it the other way. Correct. You can't contact it.
But Ditiji, our Dhyanindriyas and our Gyanindriyas are made out of the Sattva aspect of these Panchamahabhutas. So in that sense, shouldn't they be able to perceive the Panchamahabhuta even if the Panchikaranam hadn't happened?
Uh, for you perceive, who's a perceiver is one, no? Gyanendriya cannot perceive its own self without you perceiving it.
पर अंतःकरण भी तो सत्व से ही बना है.
Uh-huh.
So then
Correct.
can't the anta, and it is made out of the again the अpanchikrit पंचमहाभूतों का सत्व का पार्ट अंतःकरण बन गया. So अंतःकरण can't the अंतःकरण, because that's where the reflection is being formed, that's where we are perceiving everything. So can't that,
Can your antakaran, is the antakaran experienced without the cross body at this point? Where is the antakaran expressing manifest?
Was body.
Antakaran needs something to perceive also, so that has to be a gross.
So you see, the chronology of creation up to this point, we have to account for everything. Can that not be happen if we say, then we are not accounting for the experience that we are having here? Then that knowledge will be partial. It will be incomplete. It can never give you uh, complete knowledge. Purnam it cannot be. So the validity of Antakarnam knowing its own self, where is the error anyway taken place there then? Antakarn is not mistaking itself to be anything. Antakarn may error of ahankar has only come with reference to the association with the body.
Yeah.
And the karmendriyas. So that antakaran is only a instrument. That is why it can know.
and that's why it can know the higher as well.
Because exactly. Because the sattva component is that clarity. So antakaran is only that sattvic component which allows knowledge to happen. It's a tool. But what knowledge takes place inside is this sanghata may owned up. Yeah?
Niti ji, one more question. हम बुद्धि कर रहे हैं, and we've studied Vivek earlier. So I wanted to understand the relationship between buddhi and Vivek, because we say, Vivek is being able to make the right choices. So then aren't they similar, or are they different, or is there any relationship?
They are, of course, related. They are different usages. Buddhi is referred to as the instrument. Vivek is the action.
Yeah.
So buddhi, it's like, knife and cutting. They can't be separated. You can't separate knife and cutting. Without knife, you can't cut. Without buddhi, you can't do vivek. Impossible. Because the vivek करने की शक्ति is through the instrument of buddhi. And again, like I just said today, buddhi is not an independent, कोई compartment में बैठी है, like brain में we say this is that cell. It's how much you use it is how much it is available. When you use it, it is called buddhi. So when you do vivek, what have you actually grown? What have you used? And that is what is available to human being. Maximal availability of this instrument is in a human body. And therefore, he can do the vivek of what is truth and what is untruth. Yes, you want to say something, Priyanka?
Yeah. So, in continuation to what Akanksha was saying earlier, that Antakaranam is there. So we can say that Antakaranam was there and it could have chosen to see Brahman, but instead it chose to see all the gross objects, and that's where all the confusion started.
No. That's why you need a little more patience to complete the text. Antakaranam, the one who's doer, is now going to he's going to talk in the last part after he's shown the Brahma Atma Aikyam and Jiva is just an aberration. Then he's going to talk about what has formed your Antakaranam. Why are each one of us having different Antakaranams? That last part will be the karma. If you read the very first introduction that we did the topics there.
Yes.
Each now you can go back and start eliminating that last topic. One of the last will be karma. So Antakaran doesn't have a will of its own. It's this jiva who does karma, who has a karma phala to experience, and for the sake of that karma phala that he has earned is the whole srishti that comes about to his service. Good or bad karma, doesn't matter. Each one has a creation, irrespective of the gross elements and the world it generates. That now we'll move into a little more subtler part, which comes in through the Upanishads, this being only the introductory of Vedanta. He will only talk about what keeps the cycle of Antakaranam manifest and unmanifest is based on your karma. So which way you go forward into will be depending upon the karma phala.
10% है
Okay. Let's now end this here. Thank you everyone. And any more questions, maybe later. Next week.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you everyone. And I just wanted to add this much that because before doing, some of you are definitely interested, I know. Upadesha Sar is now an interim text I'm choosing between Bhagavad Gita and Tattva Bodha. Tattva Bodha has given us the fundamentals of the knowledge in an objective way to make it one's spiritual growth. What is that practices? That clarity comes in that text. So I was thinking if we finish this and then we start and think it will take too long. So maybe after a month or 2 months when we are closer to finishing this text, in some other way, because the book is something that can be read, so you don't need to have class like that. We can have more of a discussion, and therefore maybe a platform will be a different platform, not just this platform, and those details I'll think. But that will be now as was that objective knowledge of Vedanta and how to make it a subjective pursuit for spiritual growth. Carrying it forward to say why japas, why upasanas, and all those things, and seeing them in the right place. And when you will combine these two texts, that as far as I know I am concerned, that's like a complete topic. And then as per your interest, Bhagavad Gita and everything starts, which will only expand and expand and expand. More details, more details, more details, till the very last Brahma Sutra. And every detail goes, it's like, see how in this he will only talk of Brahma Atma Aikyam. Then the question came, Antakaranam can also, identify here or there. And that he will now then karma and then phala. So how that each question keeps emerging at every point and each question keeps getting addressed as we move forward into those texts. That's why the Vedanta has that curriculum kind of thing, which is so huge that only Anugraha can let us finish it. But we'll do as much as we can. So everyone, thank you very much. We'll see you next week.
Hari Om Teach Ji.